Hello, Slow and Steady Club. I hope you are doing well. I'm jumping on today to talk about foam rolling, and I've got my foam roller right here. Um, Foam rolling is going to be helpful in two different ways. Number one, it's just really good for improving your range of motion and your flexibility and how you feel in your body. But it also happens to be a great form of stress management, which is, as you know, a very important part of holistic weight management. And what happens when we are foam rolling is we shift the body into that parasympathetic rest and digest nervous system, which is key to fat loss. And so this is a great thing that you can do at the end of your workouts, or just randomly when you need to add in a little bit of stress management into your day. What we're going to do today is we're going to focus on lower body foam rolling, and I'm going to show you sort of like, generally speaking, how you can roll out the different areas. So we're going to look at like underneath your foot, we're going to look at your calf, we're going to look at your hamstrings, your quads, your IT band, and your inner thigh. And we're going to do it together. Now, if you don't have a foam roller, it's definitely something that I would recommend investing in. It won't cost you much. It's going to cost you about 20 bucks. You can buy a basic foam roller at Walmart or Winners or whatever store you have nearby. A lot of them are just made out of styrofoam. The one that I have, you can see it's got like sort of like bubbles to it. This brand is Trigger Point, and they specialize in foam rollers. This one, because it's got these bumps, goes a little bit deeper into what we're trying to accomplish here. So this would be another option, would be that brand called Trigger Point. Now, what is the whole purpose of foam rolling? Super quickly, the purpose is essentially what we're trying to do is we're working on the health of our fascia tissue. So just quickly, so you understand what we're doing here, your fascia tissue is, I like to think of it as this massive long piece of saran wrap that wraps around your body, all the way around your body, from your head all the way down to your feet. And it's all interconnected, which means that if your fascia gets tight in your shoulder, it can affect other areas of your body, which is why it's so important to roll it out. And so that's what we're going to be working on. And what we're going to do, I'm just going to grab my timer so that I can see what we're doing here. But we're going to go through a basic little sort of routine that you can practice at home. And I'm going to lift this up a little bit, and we're gonna roll out the different areas, and I'm going to kind of talk you through what we're going to be doing as we go through it. If you are wearing shoes, take them off because you don't need them. I'm going to take off my little slippers here, and I'm going to start my timer, and we're going to get going. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to roll out underneath our foot, which for those of you who have like tight arches, you might find that this feels really, really nice. So what I'm going to start by doing is I'm just going to roll back and forth underneath my foot. And when I'm doing this, I'm usually trying to do 1 minute per body part on each side of my leg. So we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, six-ish today. You don't always have to do every single part. Like if you only have 10 minutes, work on the areas of your body that feel the tightest. I'm going to apply a little bit of pressure on my knee, and I'm going to keep rolling. And what this is going to do, especially because I've got this trigger point, is it's just going to dig a little bit deeper into that. So you can roll. You can also just hang out in one area, and you can try and flex that muscle, or extend that muscle, not flex that muscle. And that will allow you to get a little bit deeper in. Good. All right. Switching over to the other side, same thing. I'm going to start by just rolling back and forth. Good. Now, again, depending on what body part you're working and how tight you are, some of these different techniques that I'm going to show you today, some of them are going to feel much more sensitive. I'm not going to lie, some of this is going to be painful. So I'm applying pressure and I'm going to keep rolling. You're going to find that when you find an area in your body where your fascia tissue is tight, it's not going to feel pleasant when you first start doing this, but if you commit to doing this on a regular basis, again, this is going to improve the health of your fascia, and in so doing, it's going to help your mobility, and it's just going to make general movement way more comfortable. So hang in there. All right, good job. A couple more like this. And again, you can flex or try and extend your foot and relax. Okay, we're going to move on to our calf muscle. And so there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. And I'm going to show you sort of like easy and hard and give you some options here. So an easy way to do this would simply be, again, depending on how tight you are, is just to kind of roll your calf muscles like this. But if you can, I want you to lift your body off the floor, because the moment that you do that, you're applying more pressure on your calf muscles. Now, if your wrists really hurt because you have sore wrists, you're just going to have to go with your bum on the ground so that you have less pressure on your wrist. But if you can, I want you to lift up. Okay. Now, right now I'm doing both of my calves. Ideally, you're going to do one at a time. Okay. And by doing one at a time, there's going to be more pressure on that calf. And so again, you can kind of start playing around here, rolling back and forth, and you're going to find little areas in your calf where you're like, oh yeah, that's a little trigger. That's a little trigger point. There's like something hard there. And you can kind of focus there and go back and forth like about an inch or two, right? Again, you could lift your body up, right? So now my bum is not touching the floor, and that's just going to intensify the pressure that's going on in my calf. I can also shift, I can do this, is called spanning. So this is rolling and this is spanning. And so when you're rolling and you find like a little trigger point where you're like, oh yeah, that needs a little bit of work, hold there and just start rotating from the right to the left. And you're going to feel how it's going to be a little bit painful, right? It's kind of like giving yourself a massage. Like if you go to a masseuse and they're digging into those tight spots, that's essentially what we're doing here. Good. And then let's just do the same thing on the other side. So we'll start by rolling, and you'll see that I'm trying to get like the bumpy pieces underneath my calf. But again, if you just have a basic foam roller that doesn't have the trigger points like this, it doesn't matter where you're situated. And if I find a spot that is particularly tight, I'm going to move back and forth about 1 to 2 inches and really target that one little area. And again, we're working about 1 minute on each leg in each body area. Now this side for me, not as tight for some reason, less trigger points. But if I find one, then I can start spanning. So going from one side to the next. Good. And you can go nice and slowly. And if you find a particular point, you could just hold there and you could flex and point, flex and point. So there's really no right or wrong way of doing this. Anything you do is going to be beneficial. Okay, awesome. All right, so we're going to move on, and we're going to move on to our hamstrings. So again, with hamstrings, we can work both legs together. We can work each leg separately. If we're working both together, there's going to be a little bit less pressure. And so what I want to do here is I want to start sort of like just above my knee, and I'm going to move all the way up to just above my glutes. Okay, so like this. Good. Nice work. And you might find that when you're working both legs at a time, again, this is going to feel a little bit easier. And you can see that I have to support my upper body here. So you might find that if your, again, if your wrists are quite painful, you might have to see if you can play around and get down onto your elbows. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work each leg separately. So this other leg comes up next to me and it's going to help me support my body weight. But I'm also going to get a little bit deeper into my hamstrings. And a nice little one to do here would be to roll and then stretch. Roll, stretch. You might find that you get a little bit deeper into your fascia tissue when you go into that stretch. Good. And the other thing to think about when you're rolling is you can attack your muscles from different angles. So I could just slightly rotate my leg inwards and get my hamstrings from a slightly different angle, or I could rotate my foot outwards and get my hamstrings from a slightly different angle. And you'll see how I'm shifting where my body is, because ultimately I'm trying to get my body weight a little bit in the right position so that I'm adding pressure. And I can span, once again, rotating in and out, right? Again, there's no right or wrong here. Okay, let's go on to the other side. So again, at the beginning, I'm going all the way up to my glutes, and then I'm rolling all the way to my knee. My glutes, all the way to my knee. And I'm trying to find, is there a spot where I can feel it more? And then I'm going to come up to my glutes, stretch, roll. Up to my glutes, stretch, roll, stretch, and roll. I can rotate my foot out, which kind of starts getting into my IT band. That feels a little bit tighter. I can also roll inwards, and you might find, oh, like I just found a little spot right here where it's like, ooh, that's something. So I could just hang out here for about 10-15 seconds, and then I can keep going. Okay. All right. So next up, we are going to work on our glutes. So I'm going to come and I'm going to sit on my my foam roller, and we're going to do one glute at a time, because we're going to be using our body weight and we're going to shift over onto that glute. So I'll start with the glute that's closest to you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of my weight onto that glute. And there's a couple of ways that you can do this, right? So you can see right now I've got this foot. You can't see it, but my right butt cheek is elevated. It's not on the foam roller. You'll see it more on the other side. I could also bring it over in front of me like this, or I can cross my leg. And that'll go a little bit deeper, because it's going to sort of get you into your hip a little bit more. And then from here, if I find that one little point, again, I can kind of hang out. I can span and shift my weight and try and just get into different little areas. Keep rolling. Good. And then I'm going to shift over to the other side. So now you'll see how this hip is not going to be on the foam roller. So again, see how it comes up? So my body weight is shifting over onto my right glute now. So I'm going to start by just rolling back and forth and sort of shifting the angle of my body so that I can get into different areas. And oh, I just found a little point. So I'm just going to hang out right here and just try and let my body relax, try and let my muscles relax. Because what you're going to feel is that when you do find a little trigger point, your body's going to try and like tense up. And what you're trying to do is get that body to relax, even though it's feeling that little bit of pain. And then again, I can cross my leg and I can go back and forth. And if I find a little spot, I can also roll back and forth like 1 to 2 inches and just really get into that one little spot. where I can feel some tightness. Good. Beautiful. All right, and again, about 1 minute on each leg would be a great starting point. Whoops, I can't see my timer anymore. Let me just open this up. Okay, whoops, I did not like my code. Okay, so we're gonna finish off with our quads and our IT band, and we're gonna start with our IT band. Now, your IT band sort of like runs down the side of your leg. This is probably gonna be the most painful, I'm not gonna lie. So the first thing we're gonna do is now I'm on top of my foam roller, but right above where my thigh bone meets my my hip bone. Okay, so I'm not on the bone, I'm just above it. It's like a distance about this, it's like a chunk of meat about this big, and I'm just gonna roll right there. So I've got body weight on my shoulder, so I'm not gonna like be down like that. I'm gonna try and be aware of not collapsing my neck. And I'm just rolling back and forth on that little chunk of meat. And it's sort of like where that IT band joins into another muscle, and I can't even remember which one it is at this point, but I'm kind of like, this is what I'm first focusing on, is just really kind of rolling that little area out. And this feels amazing. Even though it's slightly painful, it still feels really good. And again, I can span, right? So I can just shift my weight forward, or I can just shift my weight slightly back, and it just digs into a completely different area. Okay, and now once I've done that, I can start rolling down the rest of my IT band, and I'm going about 1 to 2 inches at a time, and I'm just rolling down, and I'm going to get all the way down to where my knee is. Now, since we're already on this leg, I'm just going to roll over onto my stomach, and I'm going to start doing my quad. And again, here I can go like sort of like 2 inches at a time. So I can start sort of at the top of my quad, and I can slowly go down my quad. Ooh, this is tender. I skied on Monday afternoon or Sunday. Was it Monday or Sunday? I guess it was Sunday. And I am feeling that a little bit more here. Good. So just rolling it out. Now, if I want, I can lift my leg up and extend that muscle, and that's going to get a little bit deeper. So that's going to be a little bit more painful, or not, right? And I can also go slightly to the right and get the inner sort of area, or I can go slightly to the left and get the outer area of the quads. Okay, so again, you can really play around here. Okay, so I'm going to rotate and do the other side so that I don't put my back to you. So again, we're going to start with the top of the IT band. We're going to start by getting into that meat a little bit more. So again, here, I am just above where my thigh bone connects to my hip bone. And I'm just getting into that meat, and I can roll forward slightly, or I can roll back slightly and just target different areas. And although this is painful, it feels really good. I'm doing like a nice slow roll. I mean, this is basically like going to see a masseuse, but way cheaper once you have it. Good. And I'll do one more there. And then I'm going to move into other areas of my IT band. So again, moving a couple of inches at a time. If you find that it gets, that it's painful, instead of being down on your elbows, straighten up your arms to take a little bit of the weight off of your leg, because you can control how much pressure you're applying to your leg based on how much of your body weight you support with your arms. And then I'm going to face forward, and I'm going to come down, and I'm going to work on my quads. And I can get right into those hip flexors at the very top of my quad, and I can come all the way down my thigh as well. Okay, so again, moving 1 to 2 inches at a time. You can put on some nice classical music when you do this and turn it into a nice relaxing experience. Good. And a little bit more. I can rotate so that I can kind of angle and get the inner thigh muscle a little bit more. Or I can rotate in the other direction and get into that. Ooh, yeah, there's a little point right there that I just found. It is extremely tight and painful. So I might just hang out there for a while. Oh yeah. And keep going. And there we go. So with that, we really targeted a lot of different areas. So we did the base of our foot, we did our calf muscle, we did the back of our legs and our hamstrings, we did the IT band, we did the quads, we even got into the hip flexors a little bit more. So that's a really nice lower body foam rolling routine. And I'll show you our upper body, how we can start to roll out our back, our spine, our chest, our shoulders. I'll do that in another video. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a wonderful day.